Tonight, Live 5 investigates the Charleston County School District is failing to follow the law when it comes to turning over public information.
This comes after our investigation that uncovered an elementary school employee named Marvin Gathers was not fired after the district found child pornography on his laptop, his school-issued laptop, 4 years ago.
Carter Coyle uncovered that series of stories which has rocked the CCSD community.
And Mr. Gathers does some unbelievable things for kids and with kids.
April 2015, parent advocate Marvin Gathers was recognized as Classified Employee of the Year at CCSD night at a River Dogs game.
Starting on July 1, you're going to be driving around a different car. He's got $1,000 of professional development money, and he's got a new iPad that he's going to figure out how to use here in a little bit.
The award and prizes come more than a year after CCSD found child pornography on Gathers' school laptop and turned the computer over to the North Charleston Police to investigate. All of our stories involving Gathers unraveled out of one document I found months ago in Charleston County court records. This $300,000 settlement with an 11-year-old child who told police he was molested by Gathers at age 8. Police charged Gathers, who later died, and CCSD settled. So now the question is, what other situations has the school district settled over the years? On March 30th, we asked CCSD for a list of settlements over the last 5 years. Other school districts provided it. Charleston County Schools did not. South Carolina's Freedom of Information Act allowed the district 20 business days to acknowledge my request and then 35 days to produce the records. They acknowledged it after 41 days, saying it was in progress, but never produced the records. It's now been 148 business days, more than 7 months since we made our request.
It's sad on our part that we're not fulfilling our obligation to the public.
School board member Michael Miller says the delay is inexcusable.
I'm not happy with the fact that it's taken you this long to get the information that you're requesting. I'd have to apologize.
Miller says the board used to get frequent updates about potential lawsuits and settlements.
Those cases stopped coming to us. And of course, it caused me to pause and be concerned. Were those suits being settled without the board?
It's hard to tell since we haven't received the settlements yet. I repeatedly emailed and called about the request. Our attorney sent a letter to CCSD in July and called General Counsel Natalie Ham, but we didn't get a response. We sent another letter last week alerting the school district we'd be airing this story and legal action may follow. Ham finally responded saying they will turn over the records by November 8th. Quote, "My apologies as this got held up in my office. Every time I went to work on it, I got pulled away. It eventually got buried on my desk." We aren't the only citizens having trouble getting records under FOIA from CCSD. A law firm recently sued the district for not turning over video of a boy allegedly being attacked at school. At this FOIA hearing, the judge was not pleased to hear the district deleted those videos that could have been evidence in a lawsuit. The judge called it grossly negligent. CCSD wouldn't comment.
We must have community trust, and we must be able to conduct our business in transparent ways. If we don't have that, then what do we really have?
In Charleston, Carter Coyle, Live 5 News.
A newly formed committee of local lawmakers met for the first time last night as a result of our recent stories about Charleston County Schools and the Marvin Gathers case. We've been telling you about that. Tonight, Carter Coyle explains why a certain report from the school district was discussed over and over.
At this first meeting of a new committee of legislators investigating CCSD personnel policies, there was repeated mention of the so-called Wilbur Johnson report. Johnson is the attorney CCSD hired for an internal investigation of the Gathers situation after our series of stories started airing.
I've had a number of conversations with Attorney Johnson, and I certainly find him a capable individual. But for me, it's just a matter of being able to vet the report and take a look at exactly what it says. We haven't been able to be provided with that report yet.
CCSD attorneys denied a request for a copy of the Johnson report, and now they refuse to tell me how much it cost to hire Johnson, too. At the committee meeting, Senator Marlon Kempson also said he's particularly disturbed by the district's delayed responses to some of our other FOIA requests for public information.
We must remember that we are a state of laws. No political subdivision should be beyond to complying with our state code.
Public speakers asked the committee about potential criminal charges in this case if they find school employees did not act to protect students. That is outside of this committee's power and would be up to the solicitor's office.
if there's some kind of criminal investigation, there will be opportunities for people to be subpoenaed and enforced by law to come and talk and testify and go before investigators.
For Live 5 Investigates in North Charleston, I'm Carter Coyle.
A spokesperson for the Charleston County School District said the district will release the Johnson report after all investigations are complete.
New at 5 this evening, public records finally in the hands of our investigative reporter Carter Coyle more than 7 months after we asked for them.
Carter is live outside the Charleston County School District headquarters downtown. Carter, why have you been fighting so hard to get these particular documents?
Well, Bill, these represent settlements that Charleston County schools have settled over the last 5 years. They total about $4 million. Some of those the district has paid for itself, others its insurance paid out. We're interested in what these settlements show because sometimes within public entities, settlements like this could indicate or expose alleged misconduct or mistreatment. So I filed a Freedom of Information Act request for this list of settlements in March of this year. That was 155 business days ago. It's now 100 days past the time frame that was allowed under our state law for CCSD to give me these records. Once we got our attorneys involved, we finally did get a response from CCSD. They said they'd have the list to us by today, and they emailed it to us about 2:30. So it was one settlement to kind of give y'all an example that I found earlier this year in Charleston County court records that really opened the door to all of our recent investigative stories about Marvin Geathers. That was the employee who was caught with child pornography on his school laptop but wasn't fired for 2 years. Strangely, that Geathers lawsuit is actually not on the list that they provided to us today. So we've asked the district why not, and they said they're looking into it. Now, coming up at 6, I will give you an idea of the highest paying settlements that are on those lists and what those payouts were for. For now, I'm Carter Coyle, downtown Charleston. Stay with us.
But first, this is new at 6 tonight. More than $4 million paid to settle potential lawsuits against the Charleston County School District. Records our investigative reporter Carter Coyle has waited 7 months to get. Carter's live outside the Charleston County School District headquarters right now. Carter, what kinds of cases are you seeing in those records you got?
Everything from alleged employment discrimination to accusations of sexual misconduct between employees and students. There are quite a few vehicle accidents on that list, a handful of defamation cases that we're going to take a look at. But we first asked for this list back in March of this year. We had to actually threaten legal action against CCSD in order to finally get them to turn it over to us. Other districts have provided this same information to us as well. So now the goal is that I can start comparing and analyzing all these numbers. The settlements can be important because sometimes they expose allegations of wrongdoing that never made it to trial and are sometimes kind of hidden in the public record. The highest paying lawsuit we've come across on this list so far from CCSD, one for $300,000 for injuries in a car accident. The next highest was for $240,000, an employment-related decision was the description of that one. Another payment was to a student for a slip, trip, or fall. That was a $218,000 payout. One settlement bill that does not appear on this list for some reason, a $300,000 one that was related to former employee Marvin Geathers, who we've been investigating. That involved that lawsuit, potential lawsuit rather, that turned into a settlement, involved a student that Geathers allegedly molested. They ended up settling with him or her for $300,000. The district told me they're not sure why that one isn't on the list they gave us today, so they're checking into it. Bill, over the next few days, we'll be going through this list of more than 214 settlements to see what we can find and what the public needs to know.
More than $600,000 paid out for injuries and possible employment violations. That's how much Charleston County schools have spent to settle several lawsuits since last year.
Carter Coyle asked for a breakdown of those costs and shows us how just getting the information is part of the story.
Last year, when I asked the district for a list of cases they'd settled, our Freedom of Information Act request went ignored for 7 months. We did stories about it and had to get our attorneys involved. This year, a similar request took about a month, which was within the legal guidelines for FOIA.
I hope it continues because there are more questions than answers that we're getting in this day and age at 75 Calhoun Street. And it's good to be able to commend them for an area that there's improvement.
One major change in the district was hiring an employee named Edward Boyd to specifically manage FOIA requests from the media and the public.
I think the superintendent did a great job on that, so I compliment her on that change.
So what do those settlements actually show? A total of more than $673,000 paid out since January of last year. One of them a $75,000 settlement to coach Bud Walpole, related to the so-called watermelon scandal in 2014. Plus $150,000 paid out to a former teacher at Liberty Hill Alternative School who said she experienced sexual harassment and intimidation at the hands of students. Injury payouts totaled $280,200 for 8 students and 1 adult. The district doesn't usually admit fault in the cases, but chooses to have its insurance pay a settlement to avoid the cost of a legal battle.
You have to make corrective measurements to make sure issues don't reoccur. You would not be a fiduciary organization if you did not make improvements to make sure things like that never happen again.
In Charleston, Carter Coyle, Live 5 News.